So the Patriots fell to the Texans last night by a score of 22-28. For a lot of people, this was a shock. To me, it wasn't. It's really simple to see why they lost. And why they lost is there's a lot of key factors why they lost. And some of them will make sense, to some they will not. But one of them is Patriots receivers just aren't getting open. And they have too many new faces at wide receiver. Now, first we're going to talk about they're not getting open. The Patriots receivers, they're not getting open. And part of it is because the play calling by Josh McDaniels, the offensive coordinator, just calling simple routes, simple play calls. I was watching the game last night, and there was multiple times where you would just send receivers on shallow routes, shallow in routes or curl routes, and then they would stop. And with the offensive line that the Patriots have, it is not very good. Newsflash, the Patriots' offensive line is horrible. Brady has about 2.5 seconds to throw that football before there's pressure in his face, and he knows that. And now getting into the new faces at wide receiver, this is huge. This is really huge. And to have a successful passing offense, as we are seeing nowadays more with the air raid offense, and successful offenses you will see because they keep around the same receivers. For instance, the Vikings offense, a very successful passing offense, simply because last year, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, great pass catchers right there. Not only do they have them all in the same year, did not trade them away. There was trade talks about Stephon Diggs, did not trade him away. And then you add on the rookie tight end Irv Smith. And that is just building up more chemistry with the team as the year goes on. For New England, they didn't do that. We're going to run through this year's Patriots receiving team and then last year's receiving team. For the 2019 team, we have Julian Edelman, Philip Dorsett, Josh Gordon, who was cut and then signed by the Seattle Seahawks. Mohamed Sanu, who was acquired with a trade from Atlanta. N'Keal Harry, the first-round draft pick. Jacoby Myers is catching passes from Tom Brady as an undrafted free agent. Gunnar Olszewski, who is also an undrafted free agent. He returned punts most of the time. That's how he got on the field. Ben Watson, who is, I think, 38 years old. I don't have a stat for that. 38-year-old tight end. I think he's one of the older tight ends in the league. Matt LaCosse, former Bronco tight end. And Antonio Brown, whose stint with New England lasted a week. It was week 2 when they faced Miami. And I just want you to look. You're going to see on my paper there's a big difference between this year's receiving team and last year's. This year's receiving team had a lot more receivers. But mind you, Josh Gordon, cut. Antonio Brown, cut. Ben Watson was also cut, then later re-signed because they needed an experienced pass catcher besides Julian Edelman. So 2 of these guys have been cut. Sanu was acquired midseason through a trade. And you hear names on this list like N'Keal Harry, Jacoby Myers, Gunnar Olszewski, and Matt LaCosse, and you're like, who are these people? Last year's receiving team was Julian Edelman, Philip Dorsett, and Josh Gordon. The only 3 receivers that were on last year's Super Bowl winning team that were on this year's currently 10-2 team, and Josh Gordon was cut. So that only leaves 2 remaining receivers from last year. Rob Gronkowski, retired. Dwayne Allen, let go in free agency. He plays for Miami now. Chris Hogan, let go in free agency. He plays for Carolina now. Cordarrelle Patterson, let go in free agency. He plays for Chicago now. And so, maybe if, you can't do nothing about Gronkowski retiring. Dwayne Allen was more of a blocker than he was pass catcher. I would have tried to kept Chris Hogan or Cordarrelle Patterson around. Cordarrelle Patterson, I really liked him as a special teamer, so he's kind of a two-way guy. You could have kept him around. Tom Brady is doing the best of what he can with what he's got. Last night, when they were trying to mount a comeback, supposedly, they eventually fell short off of a onside kick they should have had, but last night, Tom Brady threw 3 touchdowns. One of them to Julian Edelman, which is expected, and 2 to James White, who's a running back. That's something that New England does very well. They do use their backs very well, better than anyone else. Now on to the next thing. Last night showed me something. The defense may not be as good as people think. Yes, they have held quarterbacks to bad passer ratings. Last night they showed it on Sunday Night Football. Sam Darnold had a terrible passer rating, like a 3-something passer rating against them. And, okay, congratulations. Sam Darnold, the Jets. The Jets are still in rebuild mode, or whatever they want to call it. But Sam Darnold is a second-year guy. They faced Baker Mayfield, Josh Allen, who's having a really good year. Josh Allen is literally the only... he's the only quarterback that's a B+ that they've played against and won. Now, here's the thing. Lamar Jackson and Deshaun Watson, 2 quarterbacks in the MVP race, and are both very good MVP candidates. Lamar Jackson against the Baltimore Ravens, this was their first loss of the season. Lamar was 17 of 23, 163 yards, and 1 touchdown through the air, and then 16 carries for 61 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. That's Lamar Jackson. And 2 touchdowns on the ground. How can you... It's not that easy to prepare for a running quarterback. Okay, but you got Deshaun Watson now, who's more of a pocket passer. Is a bit of an escape artist, improviser, will make something out of nothing if he has to, but he does not just run for fun. Deshaun Watson was 18 of 25 last night for 3 TDs and 0 interceptions. This defense may not be as good as people think. And here's why. You are letting MVP candidates torch you when these games against the Texans, who are now 8-4, I think, and the Ravens, who have assumed control of the 1 seed for now in the AFC. And you can beat up on the bad quarterbacks all you want. But next week, New England goes back to Foxborough. They have Patrick Mahomes, the reigning MVP. I wish them good luck. I really do. If they could stop him, maybe this defense has a chance, and I possibly am wrong. But until then, here's my bold statement. The best all-around area on this team is special teams. And that is saying something. And because of the revolving door, they've had a kicker this year, Steven Gostkowski, their all-time leading scorer. He was season-ending injury. Then they signed Mike Nugent, and then he lasted a couple games, cut. Nick Folk was released. Now they have Kai Forbath. 4 kickers in 1 year. No team, I've never heard of a team doing that. 4 kickers in 1 year. And to sustain the success they've had with 4 kickers in 1 year, they drafted a rookie punter, Jake Bailey, who has been phenomenal for a rookie punter. I think he will be one of the best punters in the league in a few years. And the way this team does on their kickoffs and kick returns, that's another story for another time. Maybe I'll do a film analysis, but as of right now, the best all-around team on this New England Patriots team is special teams. And to say that about a 10-0 team, that special teams is the best area on their team, I mean, that has to say something.